All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. This is another one of those quick hits interviews, which is a short form. I call them micro interviews. It's kind of a 10-minute quick conversation with a local musician in Manitoba doing something interesting. And the guest on this one is someone who's been on the show before, but I was trying to think of when it actually was. And it's been a couple of years now, I think. It seems recently, but I think it was probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was just before I played a show with guys Alex Freezing and those guys.
Yeah, for sure. So that was what, 2019 maybe?
Sounds right, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that maybe before we even get into any of that, the best way to start this off is if you want to introduce yourself. People may be familiar with you wearing a large box on your head. So this
yeah, I've got. I just figured I don't know. You probably can't hear me now.
Oh yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, you can still hear me? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I just thought maybe with the box in my head you wouldn't hear me. So
no, you're coming through clear.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's the box in my head. I'm Scatterpattern. I make music with Nintendo Game Boys.
Yeah, and when I first talked to you, that was kind of my first introduction to this whole weird subgenre of people actually doing that. I mean, I knew people messed around with old electronics and kind of modified them and everything to make music with them, but I had never seen an actual Game Boy used in that sense until I met you the first time around. So I guess what have you been up to over the last little while? Because like I said, it's been a little bit since we talked.
Since then, one thing that's been kind of cool, I had only really made music with the original Game Boy before. Now I'm working on a second album of stuff made with a Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
It's just a different program that I had never tried before. And I don't know, it's interesting, some different sounds and something to try out.
Does that, using that kind of newer, I guess it's not new, but newer, the hardware there, can you get like a lot of different things out of it sonically than you would have been able to do with the original Game Boy?
Yeah, definitely. Like I don't know, I get a lot more of I use it for kind of techno house music, stuff like that almost. And a lot of people get more of that type of sound. You can separate yourself more from the kind of video game-esque sound.
Yeah. Have you seen things like, has that community of people doing what you do, has that grown significantly over the last little while? Like, are there more people sort of realizing, hey, wait, I can actually do this with this old Game Boy that's been sitting around in my basement? Like, I should start. Is there more kind of resources and more people, or is it still a very, very niche community?
One thing that's been pretty interesting, that's grown a bunch, it's always been a pretty online community, like very internet centric and chat rooms and forums and stuff. So with all the live stream concerts, like a few companies now have started where they're just like, yeah, we're a live stream company. That's what we do. We live stream chiptune.
Oh, cool.
And so there's companies now where it's like every Saturday they have 5 artists you've never heard of before, and they just keep getting more new and new artists. And it's just, it's amazing to keep learning about all these different people that are in the community.
Well, one of the things I've been asking everyone, sort of, whether it's a quick hit or a full-length episode or not, is how they've dealt with this pandemic situation we're all in. And I guess that, like, you kind of have an advantage in that your music doesn't necessarily, you don't need a band, you don't need a bunch of other people to be working with you. So that aspect of it, you're at home, you can do it on your own time. What has it been like, kind of living through this pandemic and trying to create? Has it been essentially the same sort of situation as you were in before, in the sense that you're releasing things online and participating in those kind of streaming type events?
Yeah, for the most part, it's the same. Like I had to cancel a few live shows that I was going to come into Winnipeg and play just because it didn't make sense coming from my farm into the city, stuff like that. But then the first event I got to take part in, like the first live stream I ever did, this guy from Singapore just decided, like, I'm going to reach out to 48 different people that all make music with Game Boys.
Cool.
And do a 24-hour music event. Everybody plays half an hour of music, 48 of us, there was people from Italy, Singapore, Japan, Russia, all over the place. And so it's pretty cool to see all the different people and different, like it's just the Game Boy, right? Like, it's not like that's the genre, that's just kind of the instrument. So it was really interesting to see the different ways that people use it. Or like there's rock bands that use, like there was a guy, Nishioka Diddley, I think,
Okay.
something like that. But he's a surf rock guitarist, and he uses his Game Boy as like the steel drums and different
Hmm.
percussion sounds and stuff, and then he plays surf rock guitar along to this Game Boy percussionist.
That's cool. So it's a lot more versatile than I guess people might expect, right? Because I mean, I think there's an obvious expectation of bleeps and bloops, and kind of something that would be obviously electronic music. I mean, it is electronic music regardless, right? But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
cool to hear there's a wider range of genres you can do with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like there's people that have like saxophones along with their, like you can combine stuff, right? And just use
Yeah,
it as one of your instruments. So it's really seeing 48 different people and the way they did it. It was really cool to
yeah, for
see
sure.
that, like you say, there is this giant community of people using the Game Boy or Commodore 64 or whatever they might use.
Totally, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I asked you this last time, but has Nintendo ever come out with like an official statement on what they think about people doing this? Because obviously, it's they invented the machines, right? And people are kind of taking them apart and repurposing them to make music with. Have they ever said anything about it, or do they just kind of ignore the fact that there's this whole weird community of people dismantling their stuff and then turning it into something cool?
I don't. Well, it's interesting that you bring that. Like when I'm thinking about it, because I don't know that Nintendo themselves have ever been like, "Yeah, use our stuff for music."
Yeah,
But um, when the DS came out, Korg, the music company,
yeah.
the DS, the 3DS, and now for the Switch too, they made like music making programs for them specifically.
So
And
they know people
so,
are doing that, and they are aware at least that people are doing it anyway. So you might as well make some money off it, I guess, right?
I guess, yeah.
What's the best way for people to hear your stuff right now? I mean, obviously, like you said, you're not coming into Winnipeg for any shows anytime soon, and I'm sure there's no shows happening where you are either. But what's the best option? I mean, is it Bandcamp? Is it YouTube? Where do they find your stuff?
Yeah, I guess it was April 11th, I put out a 4-track EP on my Bandcamp. So that's
Okay,
just scatterpattern.bandcamp.com. I'm trying to work on how to make a music video for one of the songs all by myself.
cool.
And yeah,
And the Bandcamp, I guess, is the best resource to find your stuff. I mean, including the older releases and things like that.
yeah, it'll have all my albums on it, and different social links to Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that.
Cool. And then I guess like the one last thing, before we wrap this up, we've talked about the cardboard box and the mask and then the kind of identity obscuring stage wear, right? But I've noticed that you're working on like stickers and you have those little action figures you made and stuff. Is there like a greater mythology to the character that you've created for this project? Are you like sort of developing that as more than just a box with spray paint on it?
Not really. Like when we first started it, it was like my friend and I had a metal band, and I just put this on my head and then kept it for this music project. And like at the start, there was a post-apocalypse story about like the robots took over and music was illegal,
Okay.
so people were like hiding, trying to make music, and they dress up like robots to try and sneak into their society and stuff. So there was like an offshoot of a weird, like where you say some mythology or anything, but for the most part, it's just some guy with the box on his head.
It's perfect. I love it.